Attraction is an energy exchange. Whether she will ghost you or keep showing up to dates, actually enter a relationship with you, marry you, have kids with you someday, depends not just on tactics and strategy. Yes, that matters when it comes to building attraction, but first and foremost, it's energy. Let me give an example of something that happened to me 8 years ago, right when I was out of the relationship with my ex-wife. The first date that I went on was a lady that I met in a pub in Dublin, and then a couple of days later we meet for some drinks in a pub, and I just got done shooting personal development content for clients where I was talking about psychological human needs. So I was filming these videos, bam, bam, for hours. So you can imagine the level of flow that I was in when I rocked up on the date. And so I arrive at the bar, I ask her, what do you want to drink? She says, red wine. I said, cool, you can sit down. At the end, there was some booth, and I'll bring it. So I bought myself a cranberry juice, her wine, sit down. And a couple of minutes in the beginning, by the way, she asked, what do you drink? And I said, cranberry juice. She said, really? You're not drinking? I said, no, I don't. And I had a couple of drinks since, but it's been like 4 or 5 years that I don't drink any alcohol at all. But even then, I wasn't drinking blood. I just didn't like it. You know, not for me. Not judging it, but just not for me. And she actually thought that was cool. So, little side note. But then basically, 35 of the 40-minute date, okay, 35 of the 40 minutes that we spent together in that pub was basically just me ranting about different psychological needs we have, different models, Tony Robbins' model, Gunther Schmidt, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and explaining that and making it very relatable. It wasn't a proper date at all. I didn't follow any of the best practices, yet after 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it was, we went next door, there was a hotel, and we connected physically, if you will. And actually dated her for a couple of months until I realized, well, time for me to level up, because you're probably not supposed to jump from one relationship right to the next. You're supposed to make an educated choice, right? Or maybe you have a habit of doing that as well. One relationship, jumping right into the next one without consciously evaluating your options. The reason I'm telling you this story is, it worked. Why? Because my energy was 1,000,000 out of 10. That's why. That doesn't mean you need to be loud. Maybe you're a little bit more introverted. Maybe you're a little bit more calm. That's all well and good. But your energy can be very high even though your volume is low. That's what I would encourage you to understand. Attraction is first and foremost energy. Yes, strategy matters. I can give you all the techniques, and in my coaching program, we teach strategies that take a boring conversation and make it really exciting within 10, 15 minutes. It's almost magic, but none of that matters when your energy is not on point. So what can you do to raise your levels of energy before the date so that you are attractive at a non-verbal, pre-verbal level, if you will? Well, obviously, sleep, sauna, ice bath, supplements. One of the most important strategies to elevate your levels of energy, outside of a couple of ones that I'm going to touch on in a couple of minutes, they all matter, but the single most important one is time with quality male friends. Let me say this again. If you spend a couple hours with your best male friends and then you show up on the date, your energy will be much better than if you hadn't spoken to anybody a couple hours beforehand, just you stuck in your own head, thinking about how you desperately need this date to go well. And then you become extremely stifled at a physiological level. Time with quality male friends is one of the most important strategies to raise your energy levels. Did you ever notice that your problems don't seem quite as big when you're around your male friends? Really matters. What else can you do to raise your energy levels? A simple 5-minute gratitude meditation in the beginning of the day will boost your levels of energy for the rest of the day. What else can you do? You can go to the gym. You can meditate. You can listen to personal development, educational, motivational content on YouTube. What you put into your mind greatly determines how you feel on a day-to-day basis. There's this guy, Mo something. I believe he was a former Google software engineer, one of the head IT guys in Google, if I'm not mistaken, who wrote a book called Solve for Happy. His son died. So he obviously had a big challenge to solve for in life when it comes to solving for happiness. This was obviously more pain than most people could ever imagine. And he wrote a beautiful book. And he said that he hasn't watched horror movies in 20 years and he hasn't had a nightmare in 20 years. I'm butchering the exact details, but it's been a long time. What you watch before going to sleep impacts your brain chemistry, impacts how you feel, that impacts your dreams, that impacts how you wake up in the morning. If you want to be more fun and lighthearted, another really practical strategy is watch stand-up comedy for 15 minutes a day. Can you watch 15 minutes a day of Theo Vaughn, Andrew Schultz, Joe Rogan, Dave Chappelle, Joey Diaz, whoever your favorite comedians are. Can you do that? Tony Hinchcliffe, for 15, 20 minutes a day? If you do that, you'll naturally start becoming more fun and lighthearted. Trust me, it is not just you who is static. You are not a static person. You, in your being, very much depend on your daily rituals. So I would encourage you to audit what you let into your mind and what you let into your body and the influences you surround yourself with, because they heavily influence your levels of energy, which in turn either makes you more attractive or less attractive. I would again ask you to write down a list of the, if you want to call it in a metaphorical way, low vibrationally, energetically toxic things you have in your life. What are the influences you have in your life right now? Can be the wrong people, can be the wrong foods, can be the wrong videos you're scrolling on TikTok. It can be a whole host of different things. What are the things that you're currently exposing yourself to in your environment? What are the rituals that you have that are hurting you? Write them down. And then ask yourself, what is this costing me right now? What is this lack of energy cost me in the past? What is this lack of energy going to cost me in the future? Because if you want to be able to maintain any sort of activity, for example, dating or business or gym, it requires energy. Obviously, the progress in and of itself is going to give you energy. But if you want to maintain any sort of ongoing levels of activity, which are required to choose somebody from abundance, as we always talk about, then your rituals have to be on point. So you write the negative out. Are you consuming substances? Are you consuming alcohol? Are you maybe paying prostitutes? Are you doing all kinds of things that aren't good for you, that aren't elevating you? And then I want you to write a list of rituals you're not doing yet that you should be doing, or rituals you're doing occasionally that you're not doing enough of. Sunlight, for example. Andrew Huberman, one of the most famous scientists in the US, Stanford researcher with his own lab, he talks about at length the importance of getting sunlight into your eyes, ideally in the early morning hours. But the more sunlight you can get into your eyes, which are, by the way, the only part of your brain that's exposed, the happier you will be. This is not just about vitamin D. There's very little vitamin D being generated from the sun hitting just your face, but hitting your retina changes your entire neurochemistry. If all else being equal, and by the way, I had a conversation about this with a client of mine the other day. He's a psychologist in the US, amazing guy, doctor, absolutely crushing it. Made tremendous progress in the program already. I think we're very close to finding him somebody who's really, really, really special. I had a conversation with him a while ago. I don't remember exactly how long it was. We were standing outside of some bar in West Palm in Florida. And he was telling me, man, I'm a psychologist. What I've learned in terms of personal development and psychology and rituals and happiness from you changed my life. You've changed my life. And he's probably given me more credit than I deserve, to be honest, but I really, really appreciate the kind words. And so I was having a conversation with him the other day and talking about the importance of sunlight, because he was saying he's working a lot, he's seeing a lot of patients. And I was telling him, how much sunlight are you getting per day? 10, 15 minutes? Make it 45 minutes. Stop it, I don't have the time. Of course, there are some meetings that you can take from the phone outside if you want. I continuously, when I wake up in the morning, film some Instagram stories, share valuable ideas with you. I'm able to be productive and get my habits in. It's habit stacking. Most people are successful. They habit stack, no extra time. You can go for a walk, get your steps in, get your sunlight in, listen to motivational personal development content, maybe do some approaches, or do some phone calls, do some meetings. There are some meetings you can do from outside. And by the way, even in Ireland, even when it's totally overcast, there's still thousands of lux hitting your retina, which will change your mood for the rest of the day. It actually boosts your cortisol a little bit during the day, which means at night, cortisol will be lower, you'll sleep better, and again, you'll have more energy, you'll be better regenerated the next day. All else being equal, get more sunlight into your eyes. If you change nothing by putting an hour of sunlight in your eyes, don't look right into the sun, obviously it's gonna burn your retina, but look into the rough direction of the sun, ideally in the early morning hours when there's low angular sunlight, or even just during the day. It boosts your energy, it boosts your mood like very few other things. You are heavily in control of your energy levels. If you're in a better mood, if you're more fun, if you're more lighthearted, if your cup runneth over, you are so much more attractive to her. You can't just rock up on the date in a very serious fashion because you got this great CV and then expect her to drop to your knees and start nibbling on it. That's probably not gonna happen. You actually have to communicate with her in a somewhat attractive manner. You are in control of how you feel on a day-to-day basis, my friend. I would really encourage you to audit the bad things, as we said, that you're exposing yourself to, the rituals you have that are hurting you, and the rituals you don't have yet, or at least not integrated in a frequent or continuous fashion in your everyday life that will boost your levels of energy. If you take only one thing away from this video, and there are a lot of practical tools, but if you only take one thing away from this video, my friend, it's spend more time with quality male friends, not just some bumper cuts, but quality male friends that will boost your levels of energy like nothing else. Wish you all the best. Take care.